I'd just climbed back into the room when suddenly I heard a voice. Jasmine, how come you're only getting home now? I turned around to find Emma standing there. That's my business. Don't come home late like this again, okay? You'll be grounded if your dad finds out. I shrugged and closed my door without saying anything. Yep, that's Emma, my stepmom. She doesn't actually care. She just pretends to. If it wasn't for her telling my dad to forbid me from singing, then I wouldn't have to sneak out to go practice like this. Different day, same story. Yet again, I've had to lie about going to my singing practice. Honestly, I can't wait to be an adult so I can do whatever I want. Dad, I'm going over to Mix to study, I said as I headed for the door. Suddenly, Emma pulled me back and handed me a bottle. Huh? Licorice tea? Drink this after practicing. It helps keep your voice clear. Then she winked at me. Huh? So she knew I'd lied about where I was going, yet still she'd helped me? Maybe, just maybe, I've been misunderstanding her this whole time? Later that night, Emma suggested we should go for a picnic on the weekend, and for once, I excitedly agreed. But when the weekend rolled around, there was this hectic snowstorm. Emma kept looking out at the snow with disappointment written across her face. That's when the idea hit me. How about we have an indoor picnic? Yes, that's right. That's a great idea. And so we set up the tent right in our living room, and we were having the best time when suddenly the doorbell rang. I got up to answer it, and standing there covered in snow was a woman. She suddenly ran at me and said, "Oh my gosh, Jasmine, you've grown up so fast. I've missed you so much." Before I could understand what was going on, Dad shouted, "Megan, I can't believe you have the nerve to show up here like this. I know you won't accept my apology, but you don't understand. I had to see her. I've missed her every single day." Oh my God. So, that woman was my mother? I couldn't hold back my tears and ran straight over to hug her. I swear I'd been waiting for this moment for years. Mom gently stroked my hair and then turned to my dad. "Can I stay here for a while? Just to make it up to my beloved daughter after such a long time being apart, Elvis?" "Are you joking? Get out of my house!" "Dad, please let her stay. Please." But no matter how much I begged, Dad wouldn't give in. And so I turned to Emma for help. "Elvis, just let her stay here. If Jasmine wants to be with her mom this badly, we should let them have some time together. Come on, darling." I looked at Emma with so much appreciation, then turned those puppy eyes towards my dad, and eventually he reluctantly nodded his head. "Yay!" I shouted and led Mom to my room. From that day onwards, I spent most of my free time with her. We went to the movies together, shopping together, and honestly, it was the happiest I'd ever felt. One day, I was listening and humming along to my music when Mom came in. "Wow, so you also love singing?" It must be genetic. Back then, if I hadn't been so passionately obsessed with music, which drove your dad crazy, I might never have left you like that. Now I regret it so much, Jasmine. I put my arms around her and softly said, "After all these years, I still think about that lullaby. Can you sing it to me?" "Which one?" "I sang you many lullabies back then. It's Don't Know Why by Norah Jones." "Oh, right. That one." Then she started singing. I swear to God, her voice was like an angel. But strangely, it didn't give me any of the feelings I had as a kid. Was it because I have grown up? While I was absorbed in my thoughts, I suddenly saw Emma's shadow at my doorway. But when she met my eyes, she hurried down the stairs. Huh? Why was Emma crying? I was so confused. "She must be jealous of our relationship," Mom said. Yeah, probably, since she'd been married to my dad for 3 years, but we'd never been close. That evening, when I went to the kitchen with Mom to set the table, she suddenly shouted, "Oh my gosh! Why did Emma make chicken parmigiana? Doesn't she know that your dad hates this?" Then she took the plate and threw it in the trash, saying she would order takeaway instead. Huh? Dad hates this? He always complimented Emma on her signature dish. Before I could react, Emma entered the room. As soon as she saw her chicken in the trash, she glared at Mom. Things then got so awkward. Emma had skipped dinner. Mom also tried to start a conversation with Dad a few times, but he ignored her. Ugh, I felt so bad for Mom. In my dad's eyes, there was only Emma now. But my mother had done nothing wrong. She just wanted to pursue her passion. Later that night, I was heading to the pantry to get some snacks when I heard Emma yelling at Mom. Megan, for old time's sake, I didn't bring up anything from the past, but you can't just do whatever you want. How dare Emma yell at my mom like that? As soon as Emma left, I ran over to my mom asking her what had happened. She hesitated for a while, then told me the whole story. It turned out Mom and Emma used to be in the same band when they were young. And since Mom was always the lead singer, Emma had begrudged her ever since. Perhaps she has never gotten over it. Ugh, I didn't expect Emma to be so mean. So from that day on, I began to show my attitude towards Emma. I didn't let her go to the parent-teacher conference like I had promised before, and I even forbade Mick, my best friend, from talking to her every time he came over. Mom, how did you and Dad meet back in the day? Well, back then, your dad was a waiter at the lounge I used to sing at every weekend. We quickly fell in love and started leaving love letters for each other at our secret spot. Ew, how cheesy. It's called romantic, you silly. At that time, we put our initials at the end of every letter. Suddenly, there was some noise at the door, and I turned to see Dad standing right behind us. What do you mean, our initials? It represented our two favorite characters' names from that movie. Yes, it was the initials of Monica and Quincy in the movie Love and Basketball. Dad gaped at Emma in surprise as she continued. I was the one writing letters to you that year. But when I got to the meeting spot, I saw you and Megan together, so I left. Dad and Emma looked at each other, then turned to stare at Mom. Actually, back then I liked you so much that I pretended to be Emma, but it's not that important. In the end, you were still into me and we got along really well, right? I can't believe you lied to me like this for all these years! Then Dad angrily left the room, followed by Emma. As for Mom, she was sitting there, tears pouring from her eyes. Okay, so Mom was definitely in the wrong, but did Dad need to treat her like that? Who doesn't make mistakes from time to time? And anyway, it's because of my mom's mistake that I'm even here, right? From that day onwards, the atmosphere in the house was so intense. Dad ignored Mom, and Emma always gave Mom hateful looks. Until one day, I'd just gotten home from school when I saw my dad excitedly running towards me saying, Emma is pregnant. You're going to have a little brother or sister. Wow. I'd always wanted to have a sibling. I couldn't believe it. So that night, my family threw a party to celebrate, and Mom also congratulated Dad and Emma. And thanks to that, the tension between the three of them started to ease. Phew. But a few days later, for some reason, Dad found out that I'd lied about going studying with Mick. He was furious and grounded me for a week. I was sullenly playing on my iPad when Mom entered the room. Emma must be the snitch. Now that she's pregnant, she wants Dad to be angry with you, so he'll give all his love to her and the baby. Well, that just made sense. The other day, I'd even seen Emma whispering something to Dad, and as soon as he heard it, he got mad. Ugh, such a two-faced woman. I had to sort this out, and so I set up a fun plan for my stepmom. One time, I made her orange juice using powdered cheese, and she ended up spitting it out all over Dad. Then I unscrewed the shower head to add blue food coloring, and that's how I gave her a Smurf makeover. It was hilarious hearing her horrid scream from the bathroom. Another time, I snuck into Emma's room, trying to put flour in her hairdryer. I was rummaging through the bedside table looking for her hairdryer when suddenly I saw a DVD labeled Jasmine 0311. Huh? What's this? Why was my name on it? Curious, I went back to my room to play it. And then I couldn't believe my eyes. On the screen, Emma was carrying a baby and singing a lullaby to her. This melody. Wasn't it the song Don't Know Why? So that baby was me? But Emma couldn't sing. Could she? Her voice was weak and sounded hoarse. What did this mean? I rushed to show my dad the DVD. Emma told me not to talk about this, but since you already know, I won't hide it anymore. Then he told me everything. Turns out my mom left for a rich man when I was only 2 years old, and it was Emma who came and helped my dad take care of me during my younger years. Oh my gosh. What? So, all those memories of my mom's warm hugs and lullabies were all actually of Emma? A feeling of guilt welled up in my heart. I had to do something to apologize to Emma, so the next day, I asked Mick to go to the mall to help me buy her a gift. As I was passing a coffee shop, I suddenly saw my mom sitting with some guy. Without thinking much, I quickly pulled Mick to a nearby table and eavesdropped on them. Honey, how's the money? You know how pushy the creditors are, and they're getting kinda aggressive. Don't worry, it won't be long now. My daughter's on my side. She'll help me kick her stupid stepmom out. Then my ex-husband will soon follow her wish and volunteer to give me money. What? What was going on? Had Mom come back just for Dad's money? I was about to go confront her when my phone rang. It was Dad. Jasmine, go to the hospital right away. Emma is in the emergency room. By the time I got there, I saw my dad sitting outside the ER with his head in his hands. After a while, the doctor came out and said, "Both mother and baby are okay. Next time, please pay more attention to the patient's food allergy." How could you eat stuff you're allergic to? You must be more careful, okay? Yeah, Emma always took good care. It didn't make sense. Unless my mom... I was about to tell Dad about what I'd seen at the mall when Mom suddenly appeared, eagerly asking about Emma's situation. Unable to stand her pretense any longer, I shouted, "Mom, drop the act. It was you who did all of this, wasn't it?" Jasmine, what nonsense are you uttering? Furious, I immediately told them the whole story I've heard. Megan, I could forgive you for the old letter story and for trying to sabotage my voice, but the fact that you wanted to harm my baby is unforgivable. It turns out the stuff from the past that she mentioned before was that my mom harmed her to destroy her voice. So that's why Dad didn't let me sing, for fear that it would cause Emma pain. Suddenly Mom burst out laughing. I don't need your pity. You were so lucky to have such a beautiful voice and a wonderful man by your side. And even now, you're still trying to take the life that should have been mine. Megan, give it up already. You need to stop this. Mom was about to say something, but I interrupted her. Mom, please just go. I'm so ashamed to have a mother like you. Then I burst into tears. She got up and left, without even so much as a glance back at us. Emma took me into her arms. I was afraid that you would be disappointed. That's why I hid everything from you. I'm sorry for treating you so badly. She gently patted my head, and I felt like I was back in my childhood, where she'd held me and sang lullabies. It was so comforting. Finally, peace has returned to my family. I'm so fortunate to have Emma as a stepmom, and pretty soon, my little bro or sis will be here, and I can't wait. I was on my way to Julia's house for a study sesh when out of nowhere, I found myself flying onto the ground. I was so stunned, I didn't even see the ball that had hit me, or the fact there was a cute guy rushing over to check if I was okay. He helped me up and apologized. Then he pulled a Band-Aid out of his bag. Oh my, who is he? I'd scraped my hand pretty badly, but I almost didn't mind because now I was face to face with a gorgeous guy. In fact, I was so busy staring at him and blushing that I didn't even notice Julia marching towards us. What are you two doing? Turns out the cute guy was Callum, Julia's boyfriend. Ugh, Julia. Of course. Every nice thing is always hers. I'm Jenny, by the way, and that lucky girl is Julia. She's the daughter of the richest guy in town, Mr. Walsh. We're supposed to be friends, but we honestly have nothing in common. I mean, my family's pretty poor. It's not our fault, though. My dad sadly passed away, and so it's just me and my mom trying to make ends meet. Julia, on the other hand, has a silver spoon shoved down her throat. But fate still brought us together. I know it's kind of wrong, but that night I couldn't stop thinking about Callum. He now, in fact, gave me motivation for the next study session with bossy Julia, as maybe he would be there again. I even put on makeup and skipping on the way to her house the next day. But, well, it was all for nothing, because Callum was nowhere to be seen. Instead, I had to sit and listen to Julia go on and on about her trip to Paris.
I pretended that I was okay, but actually, I always dreamed of visiting the city of light and gazing up at the Eiffel Tower ever since watching Emily in Paris. Dream on, Jenny. Anyway, Julia was incessant. She loved making me look like a fool, and even said, "Aw, poor Jenny. Maybe one day you'll get to go to Paris. But until then, you can just look at all my photos." Honestly, why was she so cruel to me? Last year around my birthday, she'd even shown me a fashion magazine and asked me which dress I liked best. I thought she was buying gifts for me, but instead, she showed up at my party in the exact dress I pointed out. I couldn't believe it. She just winked at me and laughed, and I seriously wanted to scream at her. Anyway, after looking at about 1 billion Paris pics, Mr. Walsh appeared. He looked happy to see us sitting so close and studying together. If only he knew the truth. But I had to pretend I had a lot of fun with Julia and helping her study, at least for his sake. Mr. Walsh was a good friend of our family, and ever since my dad passed away, he'd been looking out for me, and was even paying my school fees. I couldn't let him down. But you know what? I actually started to get excited to go over to Julia's now, as the thought of bumping into Callum again gave me butterflies. I even got myself a new hairstyle, but he was never there, and I always left feeling disappointed. Then one time, after school, it started to rain dogs and cats, and I had to run for it. Then suddenly I felt an umbrella over my head. Guess what? It was Callum coming to the rescue. It was like something out of a romantic movie. He even offered me a lift home. My heart was racing so hard I was afraid he'd hear it. I just sat there in silence, dripping rain all over his clean car. I even caught him looking over at me a few times, and my heart felt like it was going to leap out of my chest. He pulled up at my house, so I was about to get out when he touched my arm and said, "Can I get your number?" I was confused. I mean, wasn't he Julia's boyfriend? He then explained that he was just hired to be her fake boyfriend so that all the flirty boys would get out of her way. Wow, I couldn't believe it. He asked me to keep it a secret, as Julia would end us both if this story got out. Okay, it all made sense now. That's why he never came over to her house. I felt so happy. Over the next few days, Callum and I chatted a lot on the phone, and then eventually he asked me out on a date. We went to the fun fair, and right away he held my hand. It made me feel so special, and I never wanted him to let go. We were having so much fun. Then a familiar voice pierced the air. "Well, well, well. Isn't that my dear friend, Jenny?" I felt dread rush through my whole body. We turned around, and there was Julia and her girl gang all standing there with their arms crossed. Callum dropped my hand and rushed to Julia's side. "It was all her, babe. You gotta see the messages she sent. She's been flirting with me for weeks. It's pathetic." Whoa, was he for real? A second ago he was about to lean in for a kiss, and now he was bad-mouthing me? How could he be so two-faced? I tried to explain to Julia, but she wouldn't listen. She just called me a traitor in front of everyone, and told all her friends to lock up their boyfriends in case I try it on with one of theirs next. I was devastated. Everyone was staring at me and judging me. Ugh, if only I could vanish into thin air right now. And as I was thinking about where I could escape to, a guy appeared, grabbed my wrist, and pulled me away. It was Stefan, the guy who lived across the road from me. I didn't understand why he helped me, but I was so grateful that he did. He walked me home and tried to cheer me up by saying how his mom used to love our bakery so much, and that the carrot cake my mom made was his mom's fave. This made me smile, thinking back on all those happy times in our family bakery. When my dad had died, we'd had to sell it to pay off some debt, and life had become quite difficult. Luckily, Mr. Walsh was helping out, but after what just happened with Julia, I wasn't sure I'd be able to face him. The next day at school, everyone was staring at me. I couldn't even find a place to sit at lunch. What had I done? I'd ruined everything. And then it got worse. My phone beeped. It was Mr. Walsh. He said he was so disappointed in me and that I no longer needed to come and tutor his daughter. I wanted to cry, and at the same time I felt so much relief. But then I read on and he said, "I'm sorry, but I can't keep my promise anymore. I'll continue to subsidize your school fees, but you'll have to figure something out for college. Good luck." My heart plummeted. Not only had I been shunned by everyone at school and backstabbed by Callum, but now the door to college was being slammed in my face too. What would I do? My life was over. I felt so sick. I just walked out of the canteen and went home. I didn't dare go to school over the next few days. I was miserable. And just when I'd given up all hope, there was a knock at my door. It was Callum. What was he doing here? He said he was sorry for what had happened and that he missed me so much. Then he asked me if I'd be interested in being his secret girlfriend. What in the world? I was so angry, I wanted to slam the door in his face. But he was fast enough to catch my hand, which took me aback. At that exact moment, Stefan happened to walk past. Seeing me standing there with Callum, his face changed and he immediately walked away. Oh, no. I definitely couldn't let him misunderstand anything about me anymore. He's the only friend I had left. I yanked my arm away from Callum and chased after Stefan. I finally caught up with him and blurted out how I'd been feeling like the whole world was against me and that I didn't know what to do. He told me to calm down, then we went to sit on a bench in the park, as he let me confide everything in him. By the time I finished talking, I was on the verge of tears. Then he said, "Listen, Jenny, you're better than this. Don't dim to fit in with those people at your school. Good people will see you for the real you. You're strong, and you can get through anything. I know you can." He was right. I was better than this. I didn't need to sink as low as Julia and her friends, and I certainly didn't need to rely on Mr. Walsh's money. I'd figure this out by myself, like I always did. So I applied for a part-time job at a coffee shop. Earning my own money felt so good. Suddenly I felt free, and I knew everything was going to be okay. But then one day when I was working, Julia and her gang came in. They still weren't over what happened, and in front of everyone, they brought up what I'd done to humiliate me. And they even recorded it, and I couldn't stop shaking. This was too much. That's when I threw a cup of coffee all over Julia and ran out of there. Julia shouted after me that she was going to tell my mom everything I'd done. Without a doubt, Julia really did it. She even sent my mom photos of me and Callum at the fair. And well, my mom didn't take it well. I rushed home to try and explain after Mom yelled at me over the phone. But then I couldn't find Mom anywhere. I called her phone and a man answered. He said my mom was in a hospital after she fainted? Oh dear good God! I got to the hospital immediately and found out that she had collapsed from shock, but thankfully she was okay. She had to stay in the rest of the day to be monitored, so I went to get us both a cup of coffee. That's when I saw him. Callum. He was in the ward next door sitting with some girl. I almost dropped the coffee out of shock. They looked close. I waited until he'd left, and then I went to ask the girl if Callum was her boyfriend. Well, turns out they'd been dating for 2 years already. So he was triple cheating? The girl deserved to know the truth, so I took a deep breath and told her everything. She was so upset. We decided to get our own back. So the girl called Callum and asked him to come back. As soon as he arrived, we confronted him and got the truth once and for all. He was never Julia's real boyfriend. In fact, here's the shocking part. He was hired by Julia to pretend to date me and ruin my life. Apparently, she was jealous of how much attention her dad gave me since my dad had died, and that her dad constantly compared her to me. He kept apologizing to his girlfriend, saying how much he loved her, and that he only agreed to help Julia so that he could earn some money to help pay for her medical bills. I was stunned. Callum was so apologetic and said he'd come clean about everything. He posted it on the school forum to clear my name, and to everyone to see the ugly truth about Julia. And of course, when Mr. Walsh saw it, he made her come and apologize to me. And he also apologized himself and offered to pay my college fees again. Do you think I accepted his offer? Of course not. I was standing on my own feet now, and there was no going back. I didn't need anyone's help. So you might be wondering how I could afford college. Surely not on my coffee shop salary, right? Well, after graduating high school, I realized how much I missed the bakery. That was where I truly felt happy. So I decided to study to become a pastry chef, and now my mom and I have opened a new bakery. I've never been happier. And there's one last thing I want to share. Oh, in fact, here he is. Hey, Stefan, I've made your mom's fave. Let's go surprise her. I couldn't stop smiling as Stefan took the carrot cake, kissed my cheek, and we headed for his car. Life is so much more simple now, and sweet, and I love it.
Oops, still not it. Wow, why do they have an entire room just for shoes? That's mental, I muttered to myself as I closed the door. I swear, that was like the 20th door I'd opened. This place was insane. I had no idea which door would lead to my bedroom. To be honest, I've never been anywhere this lavish before in my entire life. Okay, it's now down to this door or that one over there. Wish me luck. But as I reached for the doorknob, I heard a voice. Hey, what prank you trying to pull on me again? I caught you red-handed this time, Gabby. Startled, I turned around, and oh wow, there was this super cute guy standing there, looking so smug with himself. So this must be Jaden, the annoying big brother that Gabby had told me about. Only he didn't seem annoying to me. But right, I needed to stay in character, so I replied, yeah, guess I was just too busy thinking about stuff that I didn't watch where I was going. Take it easy, bro. Then I immediately fled to the other room while Jaden watched me in confusion. Phew, that was a close one. And wow, was Gabby a princess or something? She lived in a literal palace. Look at her room. Oh, you must be wondering. Yes, I'm not Gabby. I'm Nancy. So how come Jaden didn't realize that I was not his sister? Now, let me tell you, that's one wild story. I was just a normal teenager, living my peaceful life in the Missouri countryside. My family doesn't have a lot of money, so I worked part-time in a nearby diner so I could save up for college. Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but I knew I was lucky to have my loving family. They're my everything. So, anyway, it wasn't uncommon for schools from St. Louis to arrange trips out here to show the kids what country life was like. And on days like those, the diner could get pretty hectic, and today was no exception. By the time my shift finished, I was a tired, sweaty mess, so I took the scenic route home to unwind. That's when I heard this girl screaming for help. She must have slipped and fell into this ditch. I quickly found a big branch to help pull her out of there. Then she brushed the dirt off her as she said, "Thanks." But as she looked up at me, OMG! We both jumped up in such a fright that we almost stumbled back into the ditch. She looked exactly like me. I pinched myself to check I wasn't hallucinating or something. I mean, I was super exhausted from work. We stared at each other gormlessly for a bit. Then she suddenly reached out her hand and slapped me. Ouch! I raised my eyebrows at her, and she just grinned back. Oops, sorry. Just checking this isn't a dream. That's when I saw it. Her bracelet. The pendant on it was a strange shape. A strange shape like mine. I held out my wrist to slot my bracelet's pendant into hers, and it formed a butterfly. What's more, carved on the back of it was our birthday, November 3rd. Oh my God! No wonder why! I always asked my parents why they bought me such an ugly bracelet. Turns out it was 2 halves of a whole? She shrieked. So, do you think we're twins? I was still in shock, but I managed to mutter out, "Must be." She excitedly clapped her hands together, then pulled me into a hug. She said her name was Gabby, and her field trip was so dull that she wandered off, then ended up lost and stuck. Then I told her about my loving family, and she told me about her city life. I thought her life sounded awesome, but she didn't think so. Nah, it's seriously so boring over there. I just want a happy, drama-free life like yours. It makes sense now. I see why my parents love my brother more than me. I'm obviously adopted. But hey, at least you have your friends and get to go to a good school. School? That's the worst part. I hate it. Then she paused and turned to me. Nancy, I have an amazing idea. How about we switch places? This was crazy. An hour ago, I thought I was an only child, and now I was staring at my twin. Gabby seemed adamant switching places was the best idea ever, as I'd get a taste of the city life while also helping her ace her upcoming exams. This did sound tempting. I mean, it wasn't every day your long-lost twin appeared and offered you the adventure of a lifetime, right? We didn't have much time to discuss it anymore, so we quickly switched clothes, phones, and further instructions about anything else would be discussed later over the phone. Then I showed her the way to my house, and I headed toward the crowd of noisy students lining up for the bus back to the city. Suddenly, a girl tapped me on the shoulder and in an annoyed tone said, where have you been? Blonde hair, a pink hairband, and wearing a choker with a heart pendant on it. Yep, this must be Katie, Gabby's best friend. I followed her onto the bus, then yawned and told her I was exhausted. I feigned sleeping for the duration of the journey back so she wouldn't start any more convos with me. So after that, things went by smoothly, until I got home and didn't know where I normally sleep at. But it's okay now, as I'm safe in Gabby's bedroom. The butler did knock on the door to ask me to come down for dinner. I know, the fact they have a butler is crazy. But I just lied that I'd eaten loads on the field trip. There was no time for food now. I needed to learn as much as I could about these people. I searched her room and looked through her yearbooks, family photos, anything. I thought I was ready to go to school as Gabby tomorrow. But, well, as if it was that simple. The next morning, I nervously came downstairs to go to school. And of course, I had to face the entire family now. Upon seeing me, the small talks all came flying at me. How was yesterday's trip, dear? I managed to mumble out, it was all right. Then suddenly, a hand rubbed my hair. Hey, I'm taking your PB&J, okay? You won't eat it anyway. I turned to look and saw him grinning at me before he headed outside. Oh gosh, I thought I'd melted into a puddle. He's so cute. I just wanted to follow him. But then Dad cleared his throat. Gabriella, can we please make it a day free of complaints from your teachers? Oh God, Gabby, what had you possibly done? I gulped back, nodded in response, then hurried out of there. I awkwardly lingered in front of the mansion. This was the spot where the bus dropped me off yesterday, so hope this was how it worked. Then suddenly, a scary-looking guy pulled up on the other side of the street and yelled at me. Babe, what are you doing? Get in! Me? I was his babe? Oh, so he was Dylan, my sister's boyfriend. I walked over and reluctantly climbed on the back seat. Hey, what's wrong? Are you still mad at me for letting you go on the field trip alone? Come on, you said it was okay. I didn't know what to say to him, so I stayed quiet and stared out the window. Come on, babe. I mean, this is dumb. We both know how sitting in the back always gives you travel sickness. Gosh, I really needed to say something to shut this guy up, huh? No, it's totally fine between us. It's just that I feel a bit under the weather. I need a little rest, that's all. And it's more spacey here. Well, that seemed to quiet him down, but I kept on catching him giving me odd looks in the rearview mirror. Look at him! Ugh! Gabby and I might be twins, but our taste in guys couldn't be any more different. Dylan looked like the bad boy type. Green hair, a nose ring, and drove some flashy sports car, while I prefer sweet and funny guys, like Jaden. But I didn't want to accidentally ruin my sister's relationship either, so when we got to school, I had to give him a peck on the cheek to make sure that we were cool. Yuck. His cologne stank. Luckily, I met Katie in the parking lot, so I followed her to class. Things were going great. At least, they were, until we got to Spanish class. The teacher, Mrs. Harrison, gave me this judgy look right from the moment I walked in. Turns out, Gabby hadn't handed in her homework, and she spent the whole of the last session painting her nails. Mrs. Harrison demanded to check my homework today. Well, of course, I didn't know I had homework. So, in a disappointed voice, she said, Gabby, it's been 2 years and you still don't know how to conjugate any single verb. Are you proud of that? Suddenly, I heard Katie whisper, but at least she knows how to dress, Mrs. Harrison. Your sweater looks like it should have been thrown out 2 years ago. Then some of the class giggled. Oh my God, Katie? That was so rude. But luckily, the teacher didn't hear that. I quickly apologized to Mrs. Harrison and told her to just give me a pop quiz to make up for my missing homework. She did. And to her, and the whole class's total surprise, I slayed all the questions. After class, I told Katie that her comment about Mrs. Harrison wasn't cool. Laughing, she replied, "Geez, why are you so uptight today?" But on seeing my unfaltering expression, she quickly changed the subject. "You've still got to help me with the plan, okay? You promised." She winked at me. "What? What plan?" In confusion, I faked a smile at Katie. "Oh, don't you worry, girl. I got it all set." That night, Gabby called me and we updated each other on our first day. Things went better than expected. Apparently, she loved it there, and she felt so warm and connected with Mom and Dad, and she was sure that they were our real parents. She also enjoyed feeding the chickens and apple picking in the backyard. However, she did almost get me fired from work, as she didn't know how to use the oven, but she managed to charm her way out of it. I told her how I'd handled the Dylan situation and made peace with Mrs. Harrison. But oh, Gabby, Katie did mention to me about some plan? What is it? Yeah, I promised to set her up with Jaden. I guess you'll have to carry it out for me now. My heart sank as I said, "Jaden? As in, your brother Jaden?" "Yeah, now not biologically. It's no wonder I just couldn't get along with him. Not like us, right?" I forced a laugh and changed the subject. But, oh no, Jaden was far more suited to me than rebellious Katie. But, okay, this was Gabby's life, so I needed to make sure I didn't mess it up. And maybe, when this twinning truth broke out, I'd get my chance with Jaden. For now, we agreed to continue living each other's lives. I suppose it was pretty easy, seeing as all Gabby seemed to do was hang out with her friends and avoid doing her homework. The only part I didn't like was setting Katie up with Jaden. And that's when things got complicated. Will we ever tell everyone the truth? Or this life swap is too much fun to stop? Stay tuned for part 2 to find out.
Now would you look at this girl, owning the stage, slaying all the performances. Guess what? That's me. I'm Rena, a talented beauty just like my mom, Demi Grande, the famous singer. Alongside being a dazzling diva, Mom also works as a vocal trainer at my school, the Gloria Rowley Arts Academy. Having the best teachers here to help me perfect all my skills sounds amazing, right? I excel at everything I do, being an MC, dancing, acting, mastering the piano. But still, I knew that none of these would really satisfy my mom. 'Cause there is one not-so-tuneful problem. I'm tone deaf. At 7, once after I sang my little heart out in a vocal class, the teacher asked my mom when she came to pick me up, "Oh, so Rena is really your daughter? What a shame she didn't inherit your voice. She's so off-key, we all had to cover our ears." But besides singing, I can still shine on stage in other ways. For example, being an MC at my mom's new album pre-listening party. Everything was going smoothly, right up until track number 6, when the speakers and screen glitched out. Being the professional I am, I kept the crowd entertained with my charisma and dance moves. "Rena, sing us a song too, please!" Suddenly, the rest of the audience were nodding in agreement. I hesitated, but then decided to go with it. Just a short one. Can't be that bad. 'Cause I'm in the stars tonight. So watch me bring the fire, set the night alight. The audience started laughing. Oh no, if only Harry Potter could lend me his invisibility cloak right now. Please help! Suddenly, "Hey, everyone! Sorry for the technical issues. It seems to have affected the sound system also, causing voices distortion. So, not letting you all wait any longer, how about we do an acoustic performance for this next song, in which Ariana and I had the honor to feature with Miss Demi Grande. I assure you won't be able to get this experience anywhere else." The crowd cheers so loud. They must have forgotten about my disastrous performance. Thank God. Everyone was surely enjoying this. I mean, who could blame them? Look at him, my savior. Not Harry Potter, but Brian Willis. the best singer from the vocal department of our academy. At the end of the show, I rushed over to get a photo with Mom, but it seems she was busy. I guess I'd see her at home. That evening, I was in my room looking at video clips from the party when a video of me singing popped up. I scrolled through the comments. So, Demi's beautiful voice was defo not inherited. She can dance and act, but she sure can't sing. Huh? It wouldn't make more sense if Ariana was Demi's daughter. Just then, Mom came in to thank me for the successful event and saw me disheartened by those words. It doesn't matter, Rena. Just enjoy your dancing or anything you like. Singing isn't for everyone. I couldn't get her words out of my head. I was a daughter of a diva, yet I sounded like a frog. No way. They can sing, then this diva's daughter can sing too. So I booked myself in for some online singing lessons, then signed up as the opening solo singer for the Academy's annual concert. As long as I practiced hard, then I'd make it, right? Just like how I honed my other skills. Mom saw me practicing and tried to help, but no matter how hard I tried, I always came in at the wrong beat, sang as if I was reading, whispered when it was too low, cracked my voice when it was too high, and screamed out the words. Sweetie, why don't you prepare a dance instead? It's more of your thing. Leave the singing to our vocal department. Ariana will surely nail it. Ugh! Ariana this, Ariana that. I'm your daughter, not her. I must be able to sing. I was looking at the list of registered candidates and feeling nervous. But Brian appeared beside me.
Oh, so you want to follow the singing path? If so, I'll always support you.
He handed me some materials for basic vocal training. I was thinking about how sweet he was when Ariana and her friends passed by. Oh, so both you and Brian are trying out for the opening solo? Nah, just me, obviously. How could Brian compete against his girl? Ariana is his girl? So Brian didn't like me at all. He was just being polite. Both him and Mom thought I was just a dud and Ariana was the headline act? So I practiced all day and night to prove them wrong. I also posted a short clip of my singing on the forum and said if people voted for me, I'd provide a mega performance full of singing and dancing. The next day, the school announced the top 2 tied opening solo candidates, Ariana and me. I was so excited. But then I heard the murmuring. You voted for her? For real? I just want to see how bad her voice can get.
Don't be so mean. She's Miss Grande's daughter. Of course my vote goes to her.
Suddenly, Enid, this usually timid girl, appeared and congratulated me. Don't listen to them, Rena. I believe only someone as well-rounded as you deserves to represent Gloria Rowley's Art Academy. Enid's kind words really gave me strength. Now I just had to keep on practicing. I'm so near to the goal now. That weekend was the final rehearsal before the selection round. I was extremely nervous, and this was the first for me to feel this bad on stage. I wasn't as comfortable and confident as I was MC or a dancer. I tremblingly sang, but all I could think of was my itchy throat. I couldn't hit the notes at all. Had I practiced the wrong techniques? No way. I followed all the instructions Brian gave me.
If you don't really want to do it, don't push yourself.
I just feel a little under the weather today, so I didn't want to push it too hard. Don't worry, I've got a wonderful performance in store for everyone on D-Day. Oh, Brian, where have you been? We need to run over our duet one more time. Ariana again? She must be trying to pick a fight with me. I glumly looked around the auditorium and saw everyone from different departments busily preparing for their amazing performances. They were all passionately practicing. Meanwhile, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. How on earth could I save this performance? I was at my all-time low when Enid appeared next to me. Hey, do you want to team up? I have the vocals and you possess the greatest stage presence. Seeing my confused face, she continued, I've always admired you, and it's really sad to see you like this. We all just want a successful event for our academy, right? I've tried so hard. Everyone, especially my mother, is really looking forward to my performance. I cannot fail. So I agreed to let Enid help me lip sync for the audition. Just for once. I'll recover in time for the real concert anyway. The audition started off great. Enid was backstage singing, and turns out her voice is Taylor Swift level amazing. It's even more soulful than Ariana's. Seeing the crowd's stunned faces, I confidently gave the performance my best shot. But then I suddenly noticed the crowd's confused looks and realized something. Enid had stopped singing. Panicked, I turned on my mic to sing, but my voice came out as an off-key tremble. I sounded terrible, but I managed to finish a song and then rushed backstage. As soon as I stepped backstage, I saw my mom and some of the other students, including Brian and Ariana, gathered around Enid, who was sobbing, saying that her mic broke and that she didn't mean to let me down. Enid, what are you doing here? I can't, Ari. Please forgive me. I can't do it. Even though you're my sister, I can't. What are you talking about?
Wait, you two are sisters?
Oh, I see. So Ariana teamed up with Enid to sabotage me. I knew I wasn't Ariana's favorite person, but this was low, even for her. Now I was a laughingstock to everyone. It had been a horrible day, so I just wanted to curl up in my room and be left alone. Only, Mom knocked on my door. Sweetie, can we talk? I was too sad to answer, and Mom must have been mad at me, as she didn't try knocking again. I can't blame her. I would too if I was a mom. A tone-deaf daughter like me really embarrassed her. As expected, the next day at school, everyone was buzzing about 3 hot topics. The first one being my lip syncing. Rena can't even sing properly. Her performance was a joke. But she's truly a great dancer. She's better off focusing on that. The second, that they suspected Ariana of being the mastermind who set me up. And the last one was a surprise at how awesome Enid's voice was. That whole morning, I couldn't escape the gossiping. Worse still, clips of my lip syncing were posted online, and now the Academy had been accused of favoritizing a celeb's daughter over talent. I never meant for it to affect my mom and the school's reputation. I know I needed to try and fix this, so I decided to apologize in front of everyone during lunch break. It was my idea to lip sync, and I know it was dumb. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it. But before my friends could reply, Enid spoke up. Rena, I didn't mean to blow the lip sync plan. Ariana begged me to, but I refused. It was a completely unintended incident. Please, drop the act. I never asked you to do that. I didn't record our convo because I trusted you. Because you're my sister. But come on, Ariana, you know what you said. Oh, you didn't record it? Then it's a good job I did. Ariana then pulled out her phone and played a video. Why were you lying about the lip syncing? Relax, you should be thanking me for helping you eliminate a rival. I gasped in shock, and so did everyone else. I never thought that sweet, timid Enid could secretly be so conniving. Enid couldn't play innocent anymore, so she broke down and told everything. Okay, I did it, but none of y'all understand what it's like having Ariana for a sister. I have a better voice, but I can't compete with her. She's beautiful and everyone loves her, while I'm always the black sheep. Not to mention my migraine medication made me put on these unlosable weights. So I felt too insecure to stand on stage. I just wanted Ariana to taste failure for once, to feel what I feel. So I used Rena to beat her, but the mic messed up, and I took my chance to put the blame on Ariana instead. Everyone was still trying to process all these shocking revelations when a boy stood up.
Voila! Everything is clear. It's just some selfish scheme of one person. GR Arts Academy is full of awesomely talented students. Stop the dumb rumors.
Turns out, that guy has been live streaming the whole thing. Now that the case was closed, both Mom and the Academy's credibility was restored. But this drama is still too much for me. I needed a breather. As I listened to the birds chirp around me, I began to feel calmer. But then I saw Ariana coming over. I'm sorry about my sister. It's true I'm a bit jealous of you, but I'm not that spiteful. Jealous? Of me? But you're pretty, have a superstar voice, and everyone in school loves you. How about you, huh? You're beautiful, multi-talented, you can MC, act, and dance. All I can do is sing. Okay, so turns out Ariana isn't as unapproachable as I thought she was? She's actually nice. Maybe I shouldn't have been so quick to judge her. Suddenly, Brian charged over to us with an alarmed look on his face. Calm down, Tiger. I'm not harming your girl. She's all yours now. Your girl?
Why are you here and not at home?
I'm not ready to face Mom just yet. She must hate having a tone-deaf daughter. Rena, you were wrong for lip syncing, but it's not your fault that you can't sing. Singing isn't something mandatory for all human beings, is it? But
do you know how proud Miss Grande is of you? She always brags to us about your achievements and plays us your performance videos.
Brian's wise words has made me feel a lot better. He was right. I shouldn't have lip synced. I should have just embraced the things I'm actually good at and just been myself. After talking to Brian, I felt ready to go home and face Mom. Everyone expects me to sing as well as you. And I too honestly thought that if I kept practicing, I'd be able to. But the truth is, I'm just not a singer, and I never will be one. I know you're mad at me, but I can't be like Ariana. I'm so sorry.
Sweetie, I never want you to be anything other than you. I'm so proud of you, and I'm sorry if my actions ever came across differently to you. I wasn't mad at you, at all. I really just wanted to give you a hug last night, but I didn't hear anything from you and thought you might need some time on your own.
So, you're not upset that I'm not a singer?
Of course not, silly. I just want you to be happy and pursue whatever you love.
I'm glad Mom and I had cleared things up, but
but I couldn't stop thinking about Enid and why she did what she did. So that evening, I texted her. The lip sync was a bad call, but it made me realize that no one's good at everything. We all have our own strengths. Mine isn't singing, but yours is. Your voice is truly angelic, so don't let anything stop you from doing what you love. I'm glad we're okay now. You're right. Being a singer angel doesn't require a stick figure. Thank you, and I'm sorry. I'm relieved that's all sorted. And Enid learned her lesson and now realizes just how amazing she is. I was anxiously waiting backstage for my performance. Luckily, I had Brian by my side to support me, even if he was fussing a bit too much. I'm only the backup dancer. Go check on Ariana. She's the star of the show. I'm not the one on his mind. You're his one and only priority. Hey, he even gave up his chance to sign up for opening performance for you. Huh? You really did that for me? Your priority? Since when?
Yes, since I saw you emceeing on the first day of school.
Hey everyone, I'm Ellie, and my genius inventions are set to make me the next Thomas Edison. If you want to see more of my one-of-a-kind inventions, please comment and don't forget to like and subscribe to Animated Story Show. My mom passed away when I was little, so since then, it's just been me, Dad, and my older sister Kara. Dad's an independent scientist. Growing up, he was always inventing something and let me help around. Naturally, I developed a passion for inventing from an early age. You're playing Frisbee and you're hungry, but you don't have a plate to eat your food. Has this ever happened to you? No. I present to you the Frisbee food plate. Okay, no Frisbee plate. How about these goggles that help you cut onions without tearing up? Or this cool food hat, perfect for all your TV snack needs. Okay, so maybe they weren't ready for my inventions back then, but at least Kara seemed to like them. Like this alarm clock that only goes off when the puzzle has been solved. She's a doctor, so it's important she gets up on time and keeps her mind alert. I want to do well too. It's my dream to be an inventor just like Dad. So I studied hard and managed to get a scholarship into the most prestigious private school in the state. While I was getting used to my new school, Dad was working hard to make sure I got everything I needed. Everyone loved his inventions, including the Bancrofts, one of the wealthiest families in town. They hired him to design a robot chef system, but due to a system error, it short-circuited and set their mansion on fire. Luckily, no one was hurt, but Dad's reputation was at stake. He had to pay for the damages, which meant we had to sell our home. Still, we didn't have enough money. Just then, a woman, Mrs. Harding, came to see Dad and told him that she'd settle everything on one condition. He had to live in the mansion and work exclusively for her. Dad didn't have much choice, so he agreed and asked for me to tag along too. As for Kara, she received a high-paying job offer to provide round-the-clock care for a coma patient, so she moved into the hospital. So Dad and I started our new venture, only mansion life didn't go so well. As soon as we stepped through the huge doors, Dad was bundled off into the basement to work. And me, I became Mrs. Harding's own personal servant. This was so not cool, so I decided to get sweet revenge. I tinkered with Mrs. Harding's high heels so I could control them with a remote. Only I was busted by Ariana, Mrs. Harding's daughter.
What are you up to?
I'm just...
Oh, I see. Clever. Let me help you. What in the cinnamon toast?
So we watched Mrs. Harding put the heels on, wobbled about, and tumbled over. Mission completed. Nice one, Ellie. That's the funniest thing I've seen all year. So, what's up with you and Mrs. Harding?
Mom's always so strict on me, but Dad is the opposite. Only he's traveling, so Mom's running the Milo Corporation for the time being, and now she's turned into even more of a tyrant.
From then on, Ariana and I became friends and spent our free time pulling funny pranks on Mrs. Harding together. We rearranged her laptop keyboard, messed with her water flosser, and tampered with her bedroom light. I wanted to help Dad with the finances, so at school, I opened up a design-on-demand inventing service for some extra money. Queen, the school queen bee, noticed and made an order with me. High heels that convert to flats will make partying easier. Put me down for a pair in size 7 and make sure they're hot pink. I finished the order, then excitedly gave them to Queen. Only she fell on her butt. You did it on purpose, didn't you? Ugh, I'll make your life a misery. I made them based exactly on your order.
Hey, you got what you ordered, so leave her alone.
Turns out this is Owen, who's also here on a scholarship. Owen's a science guy too, so we clicked instantly. One night, I was serving dinner when I overheard Ariana ask her mom why her dad wasn't back home yet. Ariana, he has flown to India for a spiritual retreat.
Huh? That doesn't sound like something Dad would do.
Yes, well, the spiritual retreat is helpful in running the company. He'll be back soon. Now eat your greens. Ariana seemed very confused still. I knew her pain, as I missed my dad too. Feeling down, I went to see Kara to talk to her about it. But Kara appeared with 2 giant bodyguards. What's with the walking mountains? My patient is very important, so they're here to ensure information security. It's no big deal, sis. Just pretend they're not there. I felt bad that Kara had to work under such extremes for our family, so I was determined to sell more of my inventions. Everyone knows your inventions suck. Quit clogging up the hallway already. We could come up with better inventions. See, straight A's here. Those mean girls who were always ranking last in class now became top students? Pfft, how you achieve those grades doesn't count. Yeah, they definitely didn't earn those A's themselves. And you, that desperate for money, huh? Well, it's a long story. So I told him about my family's misfortune and how lucky I was to have Ariana as a friend, despite her being the daughter of the Mila Corporation owner. She seems cool. Why don't we invite her to the arcade with us? So the 3 of us went there, and Owen quickly acquainted himself with Ariana. It was good they were getting on, but hello, I was still here. When Ariana went to the restroom, I asked Owen, "So, you like her then?" "Why? You're not jealous, are you?" Jealous? No way. Then Owen suddenly turned serious and told me actually, he's been researching AI. Recently, there were some AI unethical products on the market. Some even took advantage of the face recognition feature to secretly withdraw money from millionaires' bank accounts or stock them. You know, those girls bragged about getting straight A's? Well, they used a cheating device that I suspect came from the Mila Corporation. No way! My dad works for Mila. He wouldn't be behind this. He couldn't. I don't know, Ellie. All I know is companies that use science and tech irresponsibly are a big bugbear of mine, and I had no intention of flirting with Ariana. I only approached her to do some more digging, and maybe we could sneak into the basement to talk to your dad about it. It's impossible. It's like Fort Knox. There's a security guard there 24/7. Owen assured me that between us, we'd figure out a way. I was pondering how best to sneak in to see Dad when Ariana pulled me into her room. Owen is cute, isn't he? Will you help matchmake us? Huh? That was quick. If Ariana knew Owen only hung around with her to find out about Mila Corporation, she'd be really hurt. But she was relentless, so in the end, I reluctantly agreed. I set up a date for them, but seeing them together sucked, so I decided to tag along. But anyway, the date turned out helpful. Not sure what sweet talk Owen had been saying to Ariana, but she agreed to help me and Owen sneak into the basement. The next day, Ariana helped distract the basement security guards. We sneaked in and found Dad on the floor, unconscious. I rushed to his side and urged Owen to help me carry him out. Mom's home! Help Owen leave first! When Mrs. Harding saw me helping Dad out, she went berserk. How dare you remove him from the basement? He has work to do! I found him passed out! You're overworking him! If you don't let me take him to hospital, I'm suing you for negligence. Mrs. Harding reluctantly gave in and ordered the guards to take us to the hospital. At the hospital, Mrs. Harding kicked me out of the room and insisted on seeing her private doctor. I couldn't believe my eyes when Kara walked in. When Kara finished, she stepped out and told Mrs. Harding, "Mr. Miller's awake. Leave him here and I will care for him alongside the other patient." No! I pay you to focus your care solely on one patient. Miller will be taken elsewhere to rest. So it's Mrs. Harding who hired my sister to care for this mysterious coma patient. I ran to talk to Kara, but Mrs. Harding pulled her away. Fine, I would just have to investigate what she was up to myself. The next day I was by my locker when Owen appeared, so I filled him in on what had happened at the hospital. I took these from the basement. Look, this one has the template for the cheating device Queen and our friends use. So Mrs. Harding hired my dad to make these unethical inventions for illegal profit. I just didn't think he'd ever do something like this. The design's just a portable device that could go through metal detectors. Your dad's a righteous scientist. Mrs. Harding must have pressured him into making this. We'll find proof to prove this. That's right. I have to get my dad out of this. Don't worry. I'm always here for you. We're in this together. Oh, I see. So you two are framing my mom? Ariana, you don't know what's going on. Oh, I don't? Then tell me, is this why you approached me? No, let me explain, Ari. And you let him use me? Ugh, am I a joke to you two? Then she stormed off. What I feared the most had come true. Ariana was furious with us both and ignored us since then. Then, a few days later, a huge news report broke. Science no match for monk life? Myla's CEO, Harry Harding, moves into monastery and leaves $1 million corporation to his wife, Desi Harding. I and Owen were so shocked to hear the news. Just then, Ariana came to tell us Mrs. Harding had been acting odd, so she eavesdropped on our call and heard her mention Mr. Harding, then looked very nervous and shady. Ariana knew something was up, so she paid a private investigator to delve in deeper, and turns out her dad never went to India. And now that he's back, he refused to see me and was all surrounded by bodyguards. That's it. We gotta get to the bottom of it. So the next day, Ariana went inside her mom's room. Mom, you've been so distant lately. Can we spend some time together? Just you and me? While the coast was clear, I sneaked into her office and rummaged around. Using my lockpick, I opened her drawer. Inside was a treatment plan with Mr. Harding's name on it. I went to the hospital with Owen and spoke to Kara about the treatment plan. There was nothing unusual going on. Ellie, go home. Feeling defeated, we left, but then we bumped into a doctor.
What is this regimen? It's designed to make the patient's condition worse.
We were shocked, but before I could ask him any more about it, I saw Kara get into a luxury car and leave. We jumped into a cab and followed her. The car pulled into this heavily guarded mansion. We knew we couldn't get inside by the front, so we sneaked behind the mansion, climbed over the wall, and shuffled along the side of the building. The door was locked, so Owen kept watch while I used my lockpick to enter. We crept across the kitchen, but I accidentally knocked some pan over and made a thump.
Who's that?
Owen immediately pulled me behind the fridge to hide as the guard shone a flashlight around. Gosh, this tight space made us way too close to each other. I could hear our hearts beating in sync. The guard finally gave up, and we left the room. Suddenly, I spotted Kara turning in the hallway.
Follow Kara. I'll stay here and play lookout.
As Kara stepped into a room, I saw Mr. Harding lying there. Kara, what's going on? Kara looked surprised seeing me and pulled me to the hall. Ellie, you shouldn't be here. Is that Mr. Harding lying in the room? That's right. Mr. Harding has been in a coma due to an accident during his trip. I was hired by his wife to take care of him. But when he started to recover, Mrs. Harding asked me to put him in a coma for good. I pretended to do as she said, but secretly, I've been helping him. Then who was the man showing up as Ariana's dad before?
What on earth do you think you're doing here? Mansion! Go into lockdown!
Voice verification not recognized.
Surprised, huh? We've reset the system. Now it only responds to me.
Seemed like Mrs. Harding had installed an AI system to control the mansion. Luckily, Owen managed to reset it.
How could you? Look what else I found in your mansion. You trapped Mr. Miller here and forced him to build a robot to impersonate Ariana's dad without telling him the truth.
Dad's also here? And the man showing up as Ariana's dad before was the robot he had created.
Restrain them at once.
Well, I guess it's time to use my flycatcher. I shot Mrs. Harding and the bodyguards in the eyes.
Security! Get them!
Right then, someone showed up on the yard.
I'll distract them with a robot.
Those dumb guards mistook the robot for the real Mr. Harding and ran after it. Let's get out of here.
Mansion! Lockdown!
The 5 of us ran out of there, while Mrs. Harding and those guards were immediately locked inside. As everyone was back at the mansion, Ariana insisted on me taking her to see her mom. Why, Mom? Why did you do this to Dad?
I sacrificed everything for your father, my assets and my youth. Myla is what it is today because of me. Yet to him, I was nothing more than a housewife. After his accident, I saw a means to take back what was rightly mine. If only he ever once listened to me.
Poor Ariana, she doesn't deserve any of this. Our family was finally reunited, and Ariana let us stay in her home until we found somewhere else to live. As for Mr. Harding, thanks to Kara's efforts, he regained consciousness and is on his way to making a full recovery.
Kara's a great doctor, and I think Dad is a soft spot for her. I'm cool if they, get together.
Yeah, I think so too. By the way, I'm sorry about Owen and you. Oh, I already forgot about that. You and him are made for each other. I'm out. Oh, there he is. Go get him, girl. Owen showed up with some flowers, looking all dressed up.
Hi, Owen. Why are you here?
You texted me, asking me to pick you up for a date?
I didn't.
Ariana! Well, too bad. I'm here already. So, will you go out with me?
Yes! And with that, he pulled me in for the sweetest kiss ever.
It was the princess fair today at my school. Each girl would show up with a parent, both dressed in princess costumes. My dad and I were anxiously waiting when the teacher finally called our names. But when we showed up on stage, there was a brief moment of silence. Then the whole crowd fell into chaos. My dad in a princess dress doesn't seem too friendly, huh? Hi there, my name's Pamela. Are you wondering how we ended up in that situation? Stay tuned, because I'm about to tell you the funniest story ever. I grew up with two loving parents. Mom ran a popular pizzeria in town, while Dad was a professional boxer. But then, Mom passed away in an accident while Dad was away on a tournament. After that, Dad couldn't stop grieving and blamed himself for leaving Mom alone. So he decided to quit boxing to take care of me and the pizzeria. Growing up, Dad would always make sure I didn't miss out on being a girl, but somehow he failed every single time. It's a miracle. Like, when he tried to do my ponytail, he struggled so much I thought he was boxing with my hair. Today was just one of Dad's failed attempts. After the show, we were heading out when we came across Mr. Rocky, Dad's former competitor.
Oh, isn't it Mr. Barkley, our boxing champ? Hi, Rocky. We couldn't believe it when you left the ring. You were a legend, Barkley. But I guess family first, right? Once a famous boxer, now a princess dad? Oh, by the way, this is my son. He's gonna be following in my footsteps. Warrior blood runs in the family, you know?
Hope it doesn't run in the family to be a jerk like you. When we were home, I saw Dad ruminating, probably thinking about the encounter with Rocky. So I lied to him. Dad, I know you've been doing this for me, but all these girly things are not for me anyway. Instead, could you teach me boxing? I want to be a boxer like you. Honest to God, I still love being girly and all, but just seeing how happy he was, I knew I had made the right choice. From then on, I grew up helping Dad run the pizzeria and learned boxing with him. Eventually, Dad got more students. Carson is the oldest and Dad's favorite. He also came to live with us and help with the restaurant. Business soon started picking up thanks to my boxing bros. The customers, especially females, loved them. Soon, we became the hottest pizzeria in town. One time, while running errands for the restaurant, we heard an old lady yelling at someone. "You're stealing my cookies, young man!" But the guy just walked away, leaving the hopeless lady behind. The audacity of him! I immediately charged at him and tackled him to the ground. "Didn't you hear, you thief? Return her cookies now!"
Hey, stop! It's a misunderstanding. I saw her putting the cookies in her bag already.
The old lady immediately checked her bag and her cookies were indeed inside. I awkwardly released the guy, and once he turned around, I was shocked. He looks like an angel walking on earth, even with that annoyed look he was throwing at me. Is this love at first sight? On my way home, I couldn't stop dreaming about him, when suddenly I noticed a moving truck parked at the building next door, and right there was him. He was sweating profoundly, then suddenly took off his shirt, revealing his six-pack. Whoa, it's my lucky day. Later, I asked around and learned that his name is Denzel, and he just moved here with his mother, Michelle. From then on, I couldn't focus on anything else, as pretty boy Denzel and his heavenly abs kept running through my head.
Hey, what's up?
Ah!
What's wrong with you?
Oops, sorry. It's just that I think I have a major crush on our new neighbor, Denzel.
What? For real?
Yeah, but I don't know what to do. Got any advice?
I got plenty, but...
Oh, come on! I'll do anything. Please?
Okay. Now listen carefully.
According to Carson, the best way to show my charm is by flexing my muscles. So I set up this new punching bag right in front of the house, waited for him to show up, and used all my might to pound on the thing. Ha! But Denzel was so unimpressed. He just coldly tossed the garbage, then slammed the door shut. Later, I waited till Denzel appeared by his window, then started lifting my desk up with one hand to impress him. Evening yoga. He looked at me as if I was some circus clown and shut the blinds. Bummed out, the next day I went to talk to Carson. Nothing I try works. He just doesn't care.
You sure? It worked every time I wanted to get girls.
But I'm a girl. Ugh, you're messing with me, aren't you?
Gotcha. But what's so interesting about him anyway? You could be with me instead. I can treat you better, Pam.
You're just like a brother to me, Carson. Thanks for your help, by the way. So much for counting on him. But that's not all. The next day, I already caught sight of Carson and the gang cornering Denzel. I immediately dashed in to protect him.
Relax, we're not doing anything. It's just that Denzel wanted this bag for his mommy, but I wanted it for you. How about a fistfight to settle this? Whoever wins gets it? Only fair, right? I got dibs on it, so I see no reason to fight. But if you insist, you can have it. Stop pretending to be so generous. Just say you're scared, wimp. Wah, wah, wah. I don't like fighting.
Then he calmly walked away. I caught up with him around the corner. Hey, don't worry. I got your back. Carson wouldn't be able to touch you.
No need.
You don't think I can protect you? I'm a boxer, just so you know. Ha! Ah!
You know what I hate the most in this world? Boxers. And by the way, could you move your punching bag elsewhere? It frustrates me every time I see it.
So all my efforts to charm him are for nothing? And what does he have against boxing anyway? The next couple days, I arrived home from school to see what seemed like a heated argument between Dad and Denzel's mom, Michelle. I came to ask what was happening, and turned out Michelle just opened up a new pizzeria right around the corner from my family's. Now she's officially competing with us.
I lost my job in the city, and making pizza is the only job I've ever had.
But why in this town? Why so close to our restaurant?
We actually inherited the land from Denzel's grandmother, and I can't afford to move anywhere else. But trust me, I didn't mean to compete with your dad.
I see.
Why don't you come over for cookies? Denzel told me you're in the same class with him, right?
Denzel mentioned me? It sure feels awkward with Michelle, but if I could be close to Denzel again, why not? Once inside, I was immediately impressed with a house taken care of by a woman's hand. It's a small space, but felt so cozy. Everything was so organized, and look at all these high heels. Wow!
Pamela, I just noticed your hair is so beautiful. Can I style it?
Really? Please do! Dad used to make me wear a beanie all the time because he always messed up my hair. It feels so nice being a girl again. I got home thinking Michelle was pretty nice, and she reminded me of Mom. So I explained to Dad, trying to calm him down. But once Carson whispered something to him, he immediately decided to declare war on Michelle. Ironically, Michelle's pizzeria soon attracted all the customers, since Denzel in a waiter outfit is on the next level. Carson and Dad were furious, and they decided to pull pranks on them, starting with the restaurant's sign. Then they spread rumors online that Michelle didn't wash her hands after using the bathroom and went straight into kneading the dough. Carson even planned with Dad to sneak a rat into Michelle's pizzeria to scare the customers away, but I informed her just in time, so she successfully avoided harm. Meanwhile, the more I hung out with Michelle, the closer we got. We went shopping together, recreated all my favorite dishes Mom used to make, and she even taught me how to do makeup.
Pamela is so pretty, right, Denzel?
Was I hallucinating, or did he just blush? One day I came over to Michelle's restaurant after class, but it wasn't as busy as usual, and Michelle seemed so depressed.
Someone pretended to be me and posted nasty reviews online for your dad's restaurant, and townspeople thought it was me. They decided to cancel on me and call me out for using unfair practices, but I swear I had nothing to do with it.
Feeling uneasy, I ran home to confront Dad. But when I arrived, I saw a sprinting figure in black running away from Carson and Dad.
You thief! Stop right there!
Suddenly, Denzel appeared where the thief was heading. He immediately held Denzel hostage.
Take him down!
But Denzel just stood there frozen. Right then, a motorbike rushed over. The thief quickly pushed Denzel away, jumped onto the bike, and got away. I rushed to check on Denzel, but he seemed annoyed and left.
We could have captured the thief. What a coward.
Denzel froze at those words, but then let go and walked away. Later, I was glad to know the thief didn't steal anything from my house, but Carson started trash-talking Denzel again.
Mr. Barkley, I think Denzel was behind the theft. That was probably why you let them go.
Quit it already! Why do you have to be so suspicious and hateful?
Oh yeah? What about you? Have fun snitching on our plan to Michelle? What? You've been telling them our plans?
I did. So what? Since when did you become so petty, Dad? And the whole fake review kerfuffle? It was you who pretended to be Michelle and gave our restaurant bad reviews, so she got cancelled, right? Dad didn't say a word when Carson jumped in.
You got any proof? Just as I thought. While you were hanging out with those suckers, Mr. Barkley and I did some digging and found out Denzel was Rocky's son, his worst enemy. Can't imagine the boxer's son being such a wimp.
Stop calling him a wimp!
That's enough. Pamela, you have one choice. Stop hanging out with Michelle and that wimpy kid. I will never accept that kind of man. Too frustrated, I just stormed out of there and went straight to Michelle's.
I then unloaded everything to her, and she invited me to stay over till Dad calmed down. Thinking about what Carson said earlier, I asked, "So, is Denzel's dad Mr. Rocky, the boxer?"
Yes, he is. But we got divorced a long time ago. Denzel's been staying with me since.
It suddenly turned awkward and heavy. Denzel just stood up and left.
It's just that Denzel doesn't like talking about his dad. Anyway, I'm gonna head to bed. Make yourself at home, okay?
I then joined Denzel when he suddenly spoke up.
You know why I didn't fight back? That day with Carson at the mall, or even today? You probably think I'm a coward too.
No, that's not what I think of you.
When I was a kid, I used to admire him and even dreamed of becoming a boxer just like him. But then that same man, outside the boxing ring, became a monster to my mom. I put him up on a pedestal, but he made her life miserable. So I swore to myself to never use violence and stopped boxing.
So that was why he thought the sport itself made people become violent? Surprisingly, after the roof talk, Denzel seemed less distant and even waited for me after class. It was still a little awkward, but just being this close to him was enough to make my heart join Formula One. However, Carson wouldn't stop being an annoying third wheel.
Legend, oh legend, the third wheel legend, always in the way.
He followed us everywhere, and people started calling us the Three Musketeers. Ugh. Meanwhile, the pranks from Carson and Dad were getting more and more serious. Michelle's supply trucks were constantly tampered with and lost all of their ingredients on the way. Michelle was distraught, while Denzel was furious and suggested he go get the ingredients himself. I had enough. So that afternoon, when Dad was still busy at the restaurant, I confronted Carson. "It was you all along, wasn't it? Dad couldn't do all that single-handedly. Thanks to you, Denzel will have to carry the supply himself tonight."
Always Denzel, Denzel. Could our conversation be less about that coward and more about you and me? Then maybe I could convince Mr. Barkley to stop.
In your wildest dream, even if you were the only man left on Earth, I'd rather go extinct than date you. There, that should knock some senses into him. But later that day, I got a text from Carson.
If you want to know who's responsible for the sabotage, come to the junkyard. Oh, by the way, Denzel's gonna drive past too, right? Shipping the ingredients and all.
What is he up to? I texted Dad to come with, as this could show him Carson's real face. Then I ran to the junkyard. I arrived to see Carson standing there all by himself.
You were right. It was me all along who faked Michelle's reviews and sabotaged her supply trucks. I tried so hard to get you, but you only had eyes for that stupid Denzel. But in just a moment, you'll see you picked the wrong guy.
What are you doing? He tied me to a car despite my efforts to get free, then went to set up what seemed like a trap. Just then I saw Denzel, carrying goods on a scooter, about to come through. "No! Denzel! Don't!" He drove straight into the trap, lost control, and fell over.
Oh, boo-hoo! Did it hurt? Too bad. You and I are gonna fight right here, right now. Whoever wins can have Pamela. I already told you, I don't fight. See, Pamela? He's not interested. You're willing to go this far to prove a point? You know what? Challenge accepted.
Oh, no. He just fell and looked like he'd hurt his leg. Carson immediately out Denzel easily. I was screaming when someone appeared next to me. "Dad!"
Shh. Let's just see. A true boxing spirit will not back down easily.
Just then, we saw Denzel slowly rise up and suddenly gave Carson a knockout. Holy camole! Where did that sudden burst of power come from? I immediately rushed to check on Denzel while Dad went to Carson.
I trusted you, but you dared to do all the dirty deeds behind my back. You don't deserve to be a true boxer. Get out of my sight for good. Now!
Who's the coward now, huh? You said you'd never fight.
My dad makes me think boxing is violent, and violence is bad. But it's not. Abusing violence is. It's okay to fight for justice. In this case, fighting for the people I love. Sorry, Denzel. I was wrong for judging you too quickly. You're not a coward at all.
That's right. A man's bravery doesn't just come from his brawn or belligerence, but should come from his spirit. Huh, did I say something wrong?
Wow, never thought you could be this mature.
My dad then went and apologized to Michelle for hurting her business, and suggested they join forces together and open up a new pizzeria. Fortunately, Michelle was cool and agreed. After that, Denzel decided to get back to boxing. And best of all, my dad is teaching us both.
Okay, you two can practice now. I gotta go over to the restaurant to help Michelle.
And you know what else? Denzel and I are finally dating. Ouch, it hurts so bad.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you You and your silly antics.
It does hurt. I'm not joking.
Does this help then?
I was at the fish market busy selling some crabs to a customer when I turned around and saw this guy stealing our fish. He quickly ran away. I grabbed a stone, aiming it at the thief, but suddenly a guy appeared and it hit him instead. Hey, what was that? Let go of me! Shouldn't you at least apologize? I looked over and the thief was nowhere to be found. The thief's escaped! You should apologize! But the guy just frowned and huffed off. Hi, I'm Serena, and I was brought up here, in this picturesque fishing town. When I was little, I lost Mom and Dad to the sea, so Grandma raised me. We couldn't afford school for me. Instead, I helped Grandma sell fish at the market to make ends meet. But things weren't always easy. Serena, you all right? Yes, I just wish people wouldn't steal. I know. Hopefully it was an extra stinky fish that will give them a tummy ache. That's Edward, my best friend since childhood. Edward's parents are also fishermen, so we naturally bond together and grew up inseparable. Later, Edward and I were busy closing when I heard murmurs and saw Mr. Elbridge, the fishing enforcement officer.
Anyone caught poaching striped bass will be given a hefty fine.
What? You gotta be kidding me! Sir, it's only considered poaching if they were caught out of season, which they're not.
Oh, really? Do you have the legal documentation to overpower my decision? Nope. Thought as much.
He's obviously abusing his power. At home, I told Grandma everything that had happened at the fish market.
I know it's not fair, sweetie, but maybe one day you could study, become an amazing lawyer, and help the local fishermen. I want to help. I can tutor you if you'd like.
That's brilliant! Since then, Edward stayed true to his word and tutored me. He was smart, kind, and so patient in explaining things to me. Time flies, and by the time I turned 13, I had the biggest crush on Edward, but I had no clue how he felt about me.
I'll wash up. In the future, I'll always share the housework with you.
What does he mean by that? Does he also have feelings for me? The next day, when Edward and I were having ice cream, some kids came in and started making fun of me.
Do you know eating too much ice cream makes you fat? Oh, of course you don't, because you don't go to school. Ha. She doesn't need to. She's still far smarter than you'll ever be.
Why did you always stick up for me? Is it because you think of me as a
little sister?
I need to stop daydreaming. He doesn't have those kinds of feelings for me. Then, when I turned 17, something terrible happened. Grandma fell so sick that she passed away. At the funeral, I felt so alone with all the adults around, and Edward was nowhere to be seen. When everything was settled, Uncle Leon said he'd take me to live with his family in the city. I had to tell Edward, but when I got to his house, it was all locked up. So I quickly slid a note with my uncle's address under his door, then left for the city. As soon as we walked into the mansion, Aunt Clara and Rachel were already there, frowning.
Ugh, can you smell rotting fish?
Ew, get yourself some perfume, please.
Enough! You will make Serena feel welcome here. Please prepare a nice room and everything Serena needs.
Uh-oh, not a good start. But then Uncle Leon had to go away for a business trip and asked Aunt Clara to find me a tutor, as he was afraid going to school might be a shock for me. I was so excited to finally study and pursue my lawyer dream. However, all the tutors Aunt Clara found were terrible. I actually had to teach them simple sums. Meanwhile, Aunt Clara showered me with errands to run. Suddenly, I saw a blur of a dog and boy and smash! You idiot! How am I meant to cycle home with an injured knee?
You're hearing this, Rex? How is she gonna cycle back home? Sorry, I'll take you home.
I accepted his offer, mainly because I didn't exactly have much choice. What's your number?
Wow, that was quick.
Stop daydreaming. I need it in case I decide to sue you. The guy, Henry, finally quit fooling around and gave me his number. When we got to the mansion, I caught sight of a familiar figure. Edward! I limped over and looped my arms around him.
Who are you?
Before I could respond, Henry shrugged his shoulders, then left. Edward then told me all about the tragic events that had happened to him.
My father made a bad decision to go dynamite fishing. The Coast Guard caught him, but as he tried to run away, his boat smashed into a reef. We needed to move to the city for his treatment. Luckily, I got a scholarship into college here, so I can study and also care for Dad. I'm so sorry it's taken me this long to find you.
That's okay, I understand. It all sounds terrible.
What about you? So you live in that big mansion now? Is that guy your boyfriend?
Henry? Oh, no. He's just
good because, well, I wanted to tell you that I missed you and I love you, Serena.
But you said I'm just a sister to you.
I was 13. I didn't understand my feelings back then, but I do now. Serena, not having you by my side felt so empty. Will you be my girlfriend?
We started dating, and having Edward by my side felt so great. I was complaining about my terrible tutors when Edward suggested he become my tutor instead. That's a great idea. You'll need to prepare an atrocious CV for my aunt to hire you. And it worked.
I don't expect you to get very far with this one. She is rather dumb. What's the deal with you two?
She doesn't like having me here. Halfway through the lesson, Edward got a call from the hospital asking him to pay his dad's bills ASAP before his condition worsened. I was comforting him when Rachel barged in. Serena, go get me some ice. Oh, hello there. Get out!
Who's that?
Rachel, my cousin. Edward seemed distracted after that. I guess he was upset about his dad. He told me to continue with my worksheet and went to the bathroom. I finished the work, but Edward still hadn't returned. Was he lost in this massive house or something? I went to look for him and was shocked to see him and Rachel happily laughing together.
Hi, Serena. I was just getting some water.
I ignored Edward and continued studying by myself.
Are you jealous? I was just being polite.
Darn it, he knew I couldn't be mad at him when he smiled at me like that. But as we continued studying, I couldn't fully shake away my uneasy feeling. But the next day, I was waiting to study with Edward when
Edward won't be coming today.
What? I asked her why, but she just walked off. As she left, I heard her ask the maid to bring fruits to Rachel and her new tutor. Huh? Since when did Rachel have a tutor? Sensing something was up, I sneaked over to Rachel's room and spotted Edward?
Serena, what are you doing over here?
Oh, is stalking your new hobby now? I looked at Edward, but he just sat still, so I ran off with blurry eyes and an aching heart. Edward tried to call me, but I just ignored it. That night, he texted me and insisted on waiting for me. I wanted to hear him out, but I was still so angry at him.
Serena, please. Your aunt told me I couldn't tutor you anymore and asked me to be Rachel's tutor instead. I need the money for my dad's treatment. I can't turn this amount of money down.
Ugh, my aunt was such a witch!
I'm so sorry. I would much rather be tutoring you. You're the only girl for me, but I can't lose this job. So let's keep our relationship a secret, okay?
This was no big deal, right? It was me he wanted, not Rachel. Edward's birthday soon arrived, and we have a date at this restaurant today. I was excited when my phone buzzed.
Sorry, babe, something's come up. Can't make it. X.
It must have been something super important for him to cancel like that. But on my way home, I passed another restaurant and couldn't believe my eyes. Edward and Rachel were sitting together. Rage swarmed over me, and before I could stop myself, I charged in there. Edward, how could you? Jeez, what's up with you? He's not even your tutor anymore. Ask him how long he's known me for.
I was just your tutor, that's all.
I couldn't believe this, so I stormed off. I felt like such a fool for ever believing his lies. While running in tears, I bumped straight into Henry.
You look like you just got dumped.
It was the straw that broke the camel's back, so I started crying louder.
It's not me. I didn't do anything. Please stop crying. Anything you want, anything. How about the aquarium?
It turns out the aquarium was just what I needed. Watching the fish was so relaxing, and Henry was surprisingly a lot of fun to be around. Your parents must be super easygoing to put up with you.
Nope, my lawyer mom is way opposite.
Oh wow, that's cool. It's my dream to be a lawyer.
Is that so? My school's interviewing for a law foundation course. You should apply.
A law foundation course, huh? Should I give it a try? I arrived home feeling better, but Aunt Clara wouldn't leave me alone with her usual mocking routines.
You spoiled ingrate! Soon you'll be 18 and I can rid my hands of you.
I had enough. So I decided to apply for the foundation program Henry mentioned. It was time to focus on my dream without any further distractions. I studied hard and went to the library for materials. Henry offered to help, and even though I still found him childish sometimes, he was actually quite smart and knew loads about the law. One time, Henry invited me to come watch his debate team. Only when I showed up and spoke to Henry, I saw Edward walk in.
My dad's ill, yet here you are, with him? Serena can go where she pleases.
It's okay, Henry. I got it.
Rachel's just my friend. I love you, not her. I just need to earn enough money. Then I'll end this mess with Rachel for good.
What he did was still hard to accept, but he was in a tough situation. I would be a terrible girlfriend if I didn't support him, right? Despite all this drama, I'd been studying hard, and now it was time for my interview. Only on my way there, I saw a woman yelling at two students.
Watch where you're going, you idiots!
Excuse me, but this is a pedestrian crossing, hence the driver's fault for not stopping.
How dare you speak the law to me, you little girl? Do you know who I am?
But as everyone started buzzing, she had no choice but to drive off.
What happened?
I explained it to him and pointed at the woman's car. He didn't say anything, but seemed quite surprised. We then went to the interview, but when I told the assistant my name, she smiled and said, "You don't need to draw a number. Mrs. Shotton was impressed with your profile, so she wishes to interview you herself. It's best you follow the right procedure." I was a bit confused, but Henry knew better than me. Anyway, I had my interview with someone else, and I passed. Yay! Since then, I studied hard, and Henry helped me a lot. On my first oral exam, he even came along to encourage me. Only, as soon as I stepped into the room, I saw that rude woman standing there. Hang on, she's the judge! Nerves wriggled at me, but I kept calm and nailed the exam. But afterward, she charged over to me. "Don't expect a pass from me, you manipulative girl, seducing my son to get into this college." Huh? Her son? Who? Mom, you can't do that. The exam's recorded. They'll see you're just being prejudiced. I insist you cut ties with this schemer at once. She humiliated me in front of a crowd and tried to smudge my impeccable reputation. No, she didn't. She was just telling the truth. Oh, and that day, I purposely called her in for an interview, but turned out you intervened. And ever since then, this snake was following you everywhere. So end it at once or leave. So this woman is Miss Shotton? And worse still, she's Henry's mom? Suddenly, Henry grabbed my hand and led me out of there. "How dare you! You're ungrateful and spoiled! I only adopted you so I had someone to look after me in my old age. But you know what? You'll never be my son! Don't forget to take your meds twice a day." Seeing him talk back to his mother just to defend me, I couldn't help but ask, "Henry, why did you help me so much?" "It's because Mom was in the wrong, and seeing you getting pushed around hurts me a lot." "Why, Henry?" "'Cause I like you a lot. Let me be there for you." Henry, your mom shouldn't have spoken to you like that. But she was only angry because she cares about you. You should talk to her. I really hope things will turn out fine between them." Henry dropped me home, and now all I could think about was his love confession. To be honest, I do have feelings for Henry, but what about Edward? What about our years spent together? Suddenly, I got a text from Edward asking to meet up. I guess it was time to sort this out. While waiting for Edward to order ice cream, I got a message from Henry saying he was coming to my place for some great news. I asked him to come pick me up instead. "This reminds me of our fishing village in summer and getting ice creams at the end of a sweltering day. I love you, Serena. I always cherish our memories together every day." "Edward, actually, this isn't working. I think we should stop seeing each other." What? Why?" I soon realized that something was wrong with our relationship. I just didn't have the courage to face it. We had a special friendship that I cherished and nurtured, but now I think it's time for me to accept the truth that we're not meant for each other. Bye, Edward. I wish you the best with Rachel. As I stepped out of there, I saw Henry waiting for me, and I instantly felt better. I made up with my mom. She apologized for what she said in her temper, and told me that I would always be her real son. Henry, that's brilliant news! Right then, I got a message from Miss Shotton. "Serena, I apologized for my behavior. I am most pleased Henry is getting to know such a righteous lawyer in the making. It looks like everything's falling into place." I arrived home, not expecting to see Rachel in a fit of tears. "Mom, make her leave! This is all her fault!" "How dare you bewitch Edward! He's quit tutoring Rachel, and now my poor Rachel is distraught. I will keep on hiring you awful tutors and see how long it takes until you break." Is that so? So Uncle Leon stopped Rachel's allowance and took Aunt Clara's credit cards off her. He also made them apologize to me. I told him about my foundation placement, and he was so happy for me and offered to rent me an apartment near the college. It's time to live my dream. Now I just had one thing left to do: take Henry to visit my hometown with me. This place looks familiar to me. I know, I think I came here as a child. Yes, this weird little girl threw a stone at me and then got mad. I suddenly realized Henry was that tourist guy I met when I was 10. Yep, that would be me. Henry seemed surprised, then suddenly pulled me in. I guess some things are just meant to be.